Fantastic. I don't want to be yelling, so if we could bring the volume down a bit, that would be fantastic. So, my name is Nils. I'm the founder of Mention. I realize some of you know this already because you've been to one of my previous talks. Last time I was here, I started off making a very bold claim. I made the claim that I have never done anything irrational ever. And keeping with that tradition, I want to start off this talk with making another claim. I want to claim that I am not a whale. This here is not me, even though it has a striking resemblance. And to explain what I mean by I am not a whale, I have to explain what a whale means in the game industry, right? A whale is someone that spends a lot of money buying those little things within a free game. Did anyone ever play a freemium game? You know, one of these games on Facebook you can download and then you can buy some boost for $1. Hands up if you played one of those games. Fantastic. And now, could any one of you... This does not work as well as I was hoping. Would any one of you spend $50 playing one of these free games? Again, show your hands if you're willing to spend $50, say, playing Farmville. No? How about $500? Anyone willing to spend $500 on Farmville? No? It must be really tough running a freemium game business. Right? So we should be able to make a guess at this point that the revenue that a freemium game company gets, it should be a normal distribution. That we're making money on the people that are spending $1 to $5, right? That makes sense. That's how these companies make money. Well, it turns out that, nope. The people that you make money on when you have a freemium game company are the people that spend thousands of dollars on your game. And these people are called whales. And that's what I want to talk about today. Whales. So this is what the revenue graph looks like for a lot of successful freemium game companies. And there's a few people that spend shit tons of money. We've had reports of $10,000 to $20,000 for a single person. And then most people don't spend anything at all. So a few whales contribute most of the revenue. And I submit to you that looking at this graph, that it actually tells us something. It tells us that the people that play these games, they don't have a budget. When you download Farmville or whatever, Clash of Clans, whatever it is you're playing, you don't have a budget in mind. But I would go even further and make the claim that if you spend $1, you are very likely to end up spending $20. This is a very, very slippery slope. Freemium games are like the crack cocaine of gaming. And it turns out that we can explain why this happens using something we call the evaluation matrix. And basically what this is a model for explaining what the brain does when it makes a decision. And on the left-hand side, we have things that are represented by you. You have a mission. So what does that mean? Well, let's say, for example, that we wanted to buy a car. And I will give you the choice between two absolutely free cars. We don't have to worry about what you're going to pay for them. One is a 2013 Ferrari, guys. And one is a 1993 Mercedes station wagon, very used. If you think the Ferrari is the better car, raise your hand. Yeah, but what do you base that on, though, right? What do you want to do with the car? What if I told you that the reason you need the car is because you're supposed to drive your spouse and the kids to the airport? Then all of a sudden the Mercedes starts making sense, because the purpose of the Mercedes matches with your mission. So if we take money off the table, if money is no longer a concern, you can't sell the car, you just need a car to finish what you're about to do, mission matters. Mastery, that is the resources you have. It could be the amount of money you have, it can be how tall you are, it can be how smart you are, how much patience you have, all kinds of properties that you have, and they need to match up with the power of the tool you're thinking about. So how can we illustrate that? Well, let's say, for example, that you were to dig a really, really deep hole, like a really, really deep hole, and I gave you two tools that you could choose from. And one is a standard garden variety shovel. We've all used them, I hope. And one is, the kind of Sandbox Shovel. Now, I know for sure that everyone's used one of those. And again, which shovel is better? Well, for most of us in this room, the standard garden variety shovel would be a better shovel because it matches our mastery. We're tall enough to use it, we're strong enough to use it, but if you asked a 3-year-old to dig the same hole, which would be cruel, don't do that, they would need this smaller shovel. It's better fit for them. And finally, you have a sense of how rewarding this activity is going to be, and if that is not proportional to how much exertion you think it's going to take to do it, you're not going to do it. But if you have a match with all these three, you're very likely to be engaged. And what's interesting with this is if we think about spending $1 with this as a background, we'll realize that having spent $1 on a game doesn't really change this model very much at all. The game that I'm playing still looks very much the same. So if it made sense spending $1 2 minutes ago, it still makes sense spending $1. Nothing has changed. In fact, because of cognitive biases we have, it's actually worse. You're probably more likely to spend $1 now because you already put some money into this, you want to get a return on your investment, and we get Concord fallacy, and you start thinking like a gambler, and things start getting really bad. Boo. So spending $1 doesn't really change anything. But now I've put myself in a bit of a tough situation because now instead I have to explain, why do people ever stop spending money in the game, right? And it turns out that this evaluation matrix can be used to explain a lot of very interesting psychological quirks that we have. And I think at this point it's actually a story time. I want to share an anecdote with you. I once got on a scooter with a friend, and we decided that we were going to drive to the Great Wall. We didn't know how long it would take. We didn't really know how far it was. We just knew because a friend said if you get on this road and you keep driving, you'll end up at the Great Wall. So that's exactly what we did. And we had a great time. It turned out it took roughly an hour. We found out when we got there, we checked like, oh, that was an hour. Felt like a lot less. It felt like 20, 30 minutes. We had a really good time. But on the way back, something changed, right? The road signs. Because before, there were no road signs telling us, this is how far you have to go until you're at the part of the Great Wall that's the closest to you. Like, there's no such road sign that was helpful for me, right? But on the way back, it says Beijing, 1,000,000 fucking kilometers, right? And not only that, but I know that it's going to take an hour. So this time, driving an hour took forever. And also another thing that I noticed that is really weird is I remembered the trip back more than the trip to the Great Wall. And isn't that unfortunate? Because I had so much more fun driving to the Great Wall, and I have very few memories of that ride, but I remember a lot sitting cold on my bike thinking, this is miserable, I cannot wait to get home. And the worst road sign of all was the one where it says, 5th Ring Road, which is still far away from where I live. 5th Ring Road, again, 1,000,000 kilometers. So why did I remember this more? What gives? Why did I have such a drastically different opinion of how much time I spent? Well, to explain this, I want to introduce a concept to you, if PowerPoint will cooperate. I want to introduce the concept of Newtonian engagement. Now, I say this in jest, but basically what I'm suggesting is that someone who's engaged with something will remain engaged until some outside force, like a piece of information, acts on him. So whenever that happens, you're put in what we call a re-evaluation point, which is basically we are thrown back to the evaluation matrix. And what happens at the re-evaluation point is because we got a new piece of information, like a road sign. I just saw a road sign. It says I have 1,000,000 kilometers to go. I now have to re-evaluate what I'm doing. Even if I don't have a choice in the matter, my brain has new information now, and it's going to check what am I doing here? Am I happy about this? I was not happy about that. And that's what a re-evaluation point is. And it turns out that re-evaluation points, they're also very good mnemonic devices. So the more re-evaluation points you hit, the more you're likely to remember something, right? And what's interesting about the re-evaluation point as well is that this is obviously an area of risk. Because whenever some new information hits me, I might decide that I'm not engaged anymore, right? So how do we deal with that as a game designer? So how do you apply this to design? And since we're all interested, like everyone here likes games and software, right? So since we all like that, I thought we'd talk about potato chips. And I want you to picture a scenario here where we have a bottomless bowl of potato chips, like really bottomless. You can eat as many potato chips as you like. You can just keep eating, or you can have unlimited bags of potato chips. It's all free. You can eat as many potato chips as you want. And I want to ask you the question, how much would you eat? Do you think there's a difference? Would you eat the same amount of calories in this solution or in that solution? Any guesses? That's right. And you know what's interesting? People actually performed this experiment. Sadly, not with potato chips, but with soup, right? They designed a soup bowl that once it reaches halfway full, it starts filling up again. It never gets more empty than halfway full. And they compared the group eating out of that bowl to people that ate out of normal bowls. And something very, very interesting happened here, because people that ate out of the bottomless bowls, they only got 20 minutes, then they cut it off, because it turned out that, people just kept eating, and that was bad. So during these 20 minutes, these people ate almost twice as much food, but they were also much less likely to self-report feeling full. What gives? The people that just had normal bowls of soup, they were more likely to say, yes, I'm full. And the people that ate almost twice as much, they were not full. So what's the difference? Well, they didn't get any more reevaluation points. And this is very important when we design games. This is very important for things like gamification, for user experience, because for those of you that were here a couple of times ago, you'll remember that I'm a big opponent of the term gamification, because there's this idea that if we give people feedback, if we give them information about the progress, that they'll be more likely to continue. And as I told you back then, not all feedback is good feedback. You are not going to be more happy in your relationship when your partner says, you are the worst sex I've ever had. Like, not all information is good information. And the reevaluation point helps us explain why that is. And wrapping this up, talking about bottomless soup and bottomless potato chips, I think we can wrap it all up and tie it back to the idea of whales. Because if you are left to your own devices in a game that has been designed not to disturb you once you've hit that zone of engagement, you're going to keep eating and eating and eating, and eventually someone will come around and call you a whale. That's everything for me today. I would be very happy to take questions. Thank you.